What would you do if an entire empire had murdered your father, destroyed your mother, and turned your niece into a trophy to glorify their wealth? They called her a mop girl. They poured dirty water over her head in front of a crowd of senators. They laughed as she knelt, scrubbing red wine off marble floors with bloodied hands. But none of them knew that she was the one holding the financial group about to devour the entire Rothmere dynasty. That she was the living legacy of a journalist murdered for daring to expose the truth. And that every insult they threw at her only hastened the day of their downfall. Today, you'll witness a story that feels like fiction, yet is stunningly real. A quiet woman, resilient, unshaken, never seeking power, toppled a billion-pound empire with nothing but a single USB drive and a heart that would never forgive evil. Sometimes the quiet ones don't break. They break empires. Have you ever witnessed someone treated as if they didn't exist? Right in the glittering heart of power? At Rothmere Hall, a gilded estate nestled in the Surrey Hills, a place that had hosted prime ministers, princesses, and G7 billionaires. She was nothing but a speck of dust no one bothered to brush away. No one called her by name. They summoned her with commands, with disdain, with glances that sliced through her like she was a stain on the marble floor. That night, the crystal chandeliers lit up the vaulted Versailles ballroom, and Krug champagne sparkled in the hands of politicians. But at the center of it all, a coincidental accident unfolded. A deliberate flick of the wrist. A glass of red wine splashed down the ash-gray dress of the young maid. She stood there, soaked in humiliation. The wine bloomed across her fabric like blood. Camilla Rothmere, hostess of the evening, didn't bother hiding her satisfaction as she commanded. Bring her a mop. Let her clean herself like she cleans our floors. A worn mop was tossed at her feet like trash. The guests burst into laughter. A senator slapped his knee in amusement. A female CEO sneered. She's just the help. Keep her out of the frame. She didn't speak. She didn't apologize. She didn't run. She knelt, picked up the mop with frozen hands. Everyone thought they had humiliated someone of no worth. What they didn't know, she was Selina Quinn. And Selina didn't come to Rothmere Hall to clean floors. She came to dismantle an empire. Selina Quinn didn't walk into Rothmere Hall like the other maids. She didn't tremble. She didn't flinch. She didn't look up, hoping for praise. She simply worked in silence, as if the place had been familiar for a long time. From day one, she was labeled as not built to last. Camilla Rothmere, with eyes as sharp as a fruit knife, said it loud and clear in front of everyone. A girl like you? You'll last a week, tops. But a week passed, then a month, then 6. Selina remained, still silent, still folding napkins with exactly 2.5 centimeters spacing. Still scrubbing floors by hand because the vacuum is too noisy. Alexia, the youngest daughter of the family, was worse than her mother. With 5-inch heels as her weapon, she'd purposely drop wine glasses, oversized Dior handbags, or even boxes of dog food, anything to make Selina bend and pick them up. One evening, right in front of a Dubai CEO and 2 U.S. senators, Alexia yanked a crystal tray from Selina's hands, letting it crash onto the Italian stone floor like a twisted form of entertainment. Oops, guess it's a bit too heavy for the new girl, huh? Laughter bounced off the walls like slaps to the face. Selina knelt in silence. Shards of crystal sliced into her hands, blood soaking through the cloth she used to clean. No one apologized. Only Camilla's voice echoed from the staircase above. You'll be paying for that mess, you clumsy thing. At this point, you might feel anger or pity, but Selina needed neither. While everyone saw only a maid with her head bowed, Selina counted people, watching their true faces, memorizing every hallway, every ledger swap, every drunken slip of the tongue. She wasn't angry. She was waiting for the day they'd have nothing left to laugh about. That night, Rothmere Hall gleamed like a fairy tale castle. Rolls-Royces lined the drive. Couture gowns, worth more than an apartment in Mayfair, glided across marble corridors. The rulers of the world were present, CEOs of central banks, royal envoys, even the heir to a global media empire. Selena was there too, not as a guest, but as the one carrying trays of wine through a sea of power, in a maid's uniform yellowed with age. Everything almost went smoothly, until her elbow brushed a platinum-blonde woman in a crystal-studded Ellie Saab gown. Diane Kessler, a legendary Wall Street investor, known for being both cold and cruel. Diane didn't say a word. She lifted a greasy hors d'oeuvres tray and pressed it hard against Selena's chest. Oily stains bloomed across the gray fabric. All eyes turned. Laughter erupted. "If you can't carry a tray, you don't deserve to exist," Diane sneered, turning away, her hair brushing Selena's face like a silk slap. Camilla jumped in immediately. "What a disgrace. You've contaminated the air in this entire room." Alexia gleefully snapped a photo, whispering, "Perfect. This one's going straight into her termination file." Still, Selena said nothing. She quietly picked food crumbs off her dress. Her eyes stayed dry. Her hands are steady. But fate wasn't finished. A glass of red wine, 1995 vintage French, suddenly spilled across her. Diane's pristine white gown was now ruined. Her reaction? More vicious than anyone expected. "She ruined my dress. Trash like you shouldn't even be allowed to breathe in here." At that moment, Henry Rothmere, patriarch of the dynasty, hurled a stack of cash straight at Selena's face. The bills slapped her cheek like a blow. "Take it. Get out. You've ruined our evening." The crowd applauded. Someone laughed. A pearl-clad woman shouted. Who knew keeping grease off marble was such a challenge? Alexia beamed. Camilla sneered. Diane just smirked. Selena reached up and caught the money midair, folded it, tucked it into her apron. "No vawing. No retreat. I'll clean it, like I always do." She knelt to wipe the floor, not because she was weak, but because it would be the last thing she ever cleaned in this empire. And no one in that room knew. That night, they didn't just humiliate a maid. They signed their own death sentence. That night, as the final notes of jazz faded from the ballroom, as empty wine glasses lay scattered on silver trays, Rothmere Hall sank into silence. Selena did not return to the dormitory where the lower staff shared bunk beds. Instead, she moved through a side corridor, gliding past ancestral portraits of the Rothmere lineage. No one noticed that behind a massive mirror there was a hidden door, just wide enough for one quiet person to slip through. Inside was a room no larger than 10 square meters. But on its walls, there were no mops or buckets. There was a global financial map, laced with red threads connecting shell companies, offshore accounts, and some of the most powerful names in global finance. On the desk, an encrypted laptop, a satellite phone, and a thick black dossier stamped. Rothmere Strategic Ties, Phase 4, Final Collapse. In this room, Selena didn't wear an apron. She peeled off her uniform. Beneath it, a sleek black outfit tightly fitted. She picked up the phone, her voice dropping, no longer the scolded servant. "Activate transfer protocols. Orion Holdings will absorb Rothmere's shell assets by 6 o'clock. Notrathis. Begin final phase." Her face no longer belonged to the woman who knelt to pick up broken crystal. Her brown eyes had turned cold, like dry glass. Every insult, every slap of cash, every humiliation, none of it broke her. It only made her more certain. By tomorrow, their empire would fall from within. Because they didn't know. The woman they mocked with a mop was the one who owned the corporation about to swallow them whole. A full-scale takedown had been triggered, and Rothmere Hall, once an impenetrable fortress, now had its biggest breach at its very heart. Her name was Selena Quinn, and the game had just officially begun. No one inside Rothmere Hall could have imagined that the woman they dumped water on, the one who scrubbed wine stains with her bare hands, was the last living legacy of a man they had once tried to erase forever. 20 years ago, Selena's father, Elijah Quinn, was an investigative journalist known for exposing money laundering rings, corruption, and illicit financing. And the name he was after then? Henry Rothmere. Elijah once told his wife and daughter, "If I die, it won't be an accident. It will be their choice." 3 months later, his car veered off a highway in the rain. The brakes were cut. No witnesses. No investigation. The file was closed like a page, deliberately burned. Selena's mother, once a maid for the Rothmere family, was fired after burying her husband. She collapsed in a rundown apartment on the outskirts of the city. Her heart gave out from grief. Selena, only 13 at the time, entered an orphanage with nothing but empty hands and a vow carved into her soul. I won't slam my fists. I won't cry for justice. I will wait. And when the time comes, I'll wipe my father's blood clean with my own hands. She studied. She worked. She stayed silent. Graduated with honors from Oxford on a scholarship under an assumed name. Built Orion Holdings from a small e-commerce firm in Southeast Asia. Quietly acquired the satellite companies, secretly funded by Rothmere Capital. Kept everything in the shadows. But there was a deeper reason, a more painful one, that led her to return to Rothmere Hall as a maid. Selena's older sister, Lyra, also worked in that house. She died after falling down the stairs. No one investigated. No one asked why there were circular bruises on Lyra's wrists. Her death was buried in silence. But Lyra left behind something, a child. That little girl was later adopted by the Rothmere family, used as a token of charity, a polished image for their public relations. They named her Amelie. Selena called her niece by blood. I didn't return to Rothmere for revenge soaked in blood. I returned to keep that child from suffering her mother's fate. With every meal she served, every corridor she scrubbed, every sleepless night, Selena wasn't just gathering evidence. She wasn't just waiting to destroy an empire. She was doing what her father, her mother, and her sister never had the chance to do. Protect the last piece of family she had left. That night, Rothmere Hall gleamed brighter than ever. Reporters crowded the front gates. Livestream cameras broadcast directly to international news networks. The Rothmere family was hosting a gala to celebrate a £500 million deal with Orion Holdings, what they believed to be the crowning achievement of their empire. Henry Rothmere stood proudly beside Camilla, microphone in hand. Today, we affirm Rothmere Group's irreplaceable role in European financial history. Fireworks burst outside. Then the giant screen behind them began to flicker. A faint static burst. The signal was being intercepted. The entire room turned. From stage left, a lone figure stepped forward. No Vellon, no mock-up, no unedited events. Just Selena Quinn in a faded gray dress. The same maid's uniform they once soaked in soapy water. In her hand was a small USB drive. No one stopped her. No security guard intervened. She plugged the device into the master input port, and the screen exploded with documents. Money laundering files from the Caribbean. Political bribery lists. Fake charitable foundations. Signed assassination orders labeled H. Rothmere. Security footage from 2005. Lyra's fatal fall down the staircase. The room fell into stunned silence. Selena stepped up to the mic. Her voice was low, unshaken. I'm the daughter of Elijah Quinn, the man you killed to protect your rotten empire. I'm the sister of Lyra, the woman who died here without a single investigation. I'm the one who swore not to scream, but to make you scream for what you stole from the past. Henry dropped the mic. Camilla froze. Alexia whispered, No, it can't be. Selena smiled faintly. Orion Holdings? I'm the CEO. You didn't buy it. You walked straight into the trap. And now, everything you built belongs to me. The screen lit up with the Orion Holdings logo. A line scrolled beneath it. This corporation now owns 89% of Rothmere Group's assets and subsidiaries. Camera flashes erupted. Reporter screamed. Who are you? How did you pull this off? Selena answered, eyes locked on Henry. I'm just a maid. But if you clean long enough, you learn exactly where the dirt is and who most needs to be wiped away. Henry Rothmere lunged for the microphone, his voice trembling, as if it were the first time he'd ever lost control. This is a fabrication. Who do you think you are? But he never finished the sentence. Two men in black suits, one stationed at the front gate, once escorts for VIPs, walked straight onto the stage and turned toward Henry. We no longer work for you. One of them pulled out an arrest warrant. They were financial special agents, planted 4 months earlier under the direct orders of the CEO of Orion Holdings, Selena Quinn. Camilla screamed. Alexia tried to flee, but was immediately blocked by a swarm of reporters. Camera lenses shoved into her face, flashes firing every second, like hammers smashing through her mask of glamour. How do you feel about calling Selena's niece a half-breed mutt in your internal email? A female journalist shot the question point blank. Alexia stammered. She had never known a world where her words no longer carried weight. Henry was handcuffed. Camilla collapsed into a chair. The Rothmere family's accounts, frozen. All real estate holdings across Europe, seized and transferred to Orion Holdings due to a fraud investigation. And amid the chaos, a little girl with dark hair ran up onto the stage. She threw herself into Selena's arms, sobbing. "Auntie, I miss Mommy." Selena held Amelie close, the child they had once paraded at charity galas, once dressed up in princess gowns for photo ops and press releases. "You don't have to pretend anymore. No one will use you to cover up the truth again, Amelie. From now on, you get to be yourself." The room fell silent. And then people saw something strange. A maid standing center stage, holding an orphan. Yet she was the only one still standing. Still proud. All the scoffs, all the cruel jokes, all the smirks, now turned to dust. 3 weeks after that fateful gala night, the Rothmere empire officially fell. Henry Rothmere now faced 32 criminal charges, ranging from money laundering and political bribery to suspected involvement in the death of journalist Elijah Quinn. Camilla was under investigation for running fake charitable foundations, long used to polish her public image and dodge taxes. Alexia was expelled from all financial boards, stripped of her inheritance, and exposed for years of employee abuse. Castles, company shares, luxury cars, bank accounts, all frozen. Rothmere Hall, once a place where heads of state were welcomed, was now legally owned by Orion Holdings. And Selena Quinn? She did not sit in the Rothmere CEO's chair. She did not appear before the press after her monumental victory. She did not ask for a single penny in compensation. Instead, she vanished from the world of finance. On an early autumn morning, in a peaceful countryside corner of Dorset, there stood a small wooden cottage. Its walls were painted soft white. The windows opened to fields of blooming lavender. No gatos, no luxury cars, no cameras. Only Selena, in a simple linen dress, was sitting beneath a tree, collecting fallen leaves with a little girl around 7 years old. Amelie, the child the Rothmeres once paraded as a moral trophy before the media. The girl, Selene, had risked her very identity to get close to, now resting her head on Selena's shoulder, whispering, "Aunt Selena, if Mommy Lyra could see me now, do you think she'd be proud?" Selena paused for a moment. She looked up at the cloudless, peaceful sky and smiled gently. "Your mother would be proud because you're still yourself. They didn't bend you. They didn't use you like a prop. And I'm proud because you're the most beautiful thing left from everything we lost." Amelie took Selena's hand, which was tiny but warm. The world called Selena many names. The maid who brought down an empire, the Shadow Queen, the silent CEO who owned a continent. But to herself, she was simply a girl once raised in an orphanage, carrying a grief no one else understood. A woman who once washed dishes in the mansion of the people who shattered her family. Someone who chose forgiveness, but never forgetfulness. Who chose to protect, rather than avenge. She fulfilled her promise to her father, to bring the truth into the light. She kept her promise to her sister, to protect Amelie at all costs. And she proved that. Not everyone the world looks down on is weak. Some walk quietly, just waiting for the day the world has no choice but to stop for them. Selena needed no throne, no name etched in a wall of honor. All she needed was a roof, a child who could grow up without fear, and a sunrise untainted by her family's blood. In a world full of noise, haste, and ambition, she chose to step off the stage, leaving behind an empire that once thought itself eternal. And if you listen closely in the still breeze of that autumn afternoon, you might hear something no one ever dares to say aloud. Silence, may be forgotten, but sometimes silence is what rewrites history. Maybe you're sitting there right now, in silence, just like I was, after watching the story of Selena Quinn. What are you thinking? About a woman who was humiliated, had dirty water dumped on her head, had cash shoved in her face like a cheap servant. And yet, she's the one who brought down an entire empire with something they never understood: patience and compassion. Do you see it now? She didn't choose to stand on the ruins and mock them. She didn't appear on magazine covers demanding justice. She simply walked away in silence. No one called her name at any awards ceremony. No one sculpted her image in marble. But in the hearts of those who were ever silenced, stepped on, or forgotten, the name Selena has become a symbol. We live in a world where the cruel are often the loudest. But Selena reminds us, silence isn't weakness. It's the weapon of those who know how to wait for the right moment. She didn't need revenge soaked in blood. She didn't trade her soul to win. All she needed was a child who could grow up unafraid, a truth no longer buried, and a promise to the past, kept to the very end. The lesson here isn't just that justice may come late. It's that when justice arrives through the hands of someone once discarded, it becomes more powerful, more beautiful, more profound. What do we learn from Selena? That you don't need a crown to be a queen. That kindness is not weakness. And that sometimes the people who stay silent aren't losing. They're just waiting for the moment when the guilty have to face themselves. If you felt your chest tighten at the end, if you've ever felt invisible, ever been dismissed, ever wished someone could understand your pain, then this story is for you. And if you believe the world needs more stories like this, stories of quiet strength, of good people flipping the script with hearts untainted, then please leave a comment, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to Toch Story, where we tell stories that don't scream for attention, but leave echoes that last a lifetime. Because some battles need no gunfire, just one person who doesn't give up, and one truth powerful enough to silence the world.